Hey there, so I'm coming at you with another video I've been thinking about for a while. I wanted to do it this past week, but I was feeling kind of not so great, so never got to it. This is about, I've seen lots and lots of live shows, tons. There's very few artists and bands that I haven't seen that are on my bucket list. There's some, but I've seen a lot. I've been fortunate and spent a lot of decades going to shows and have a lot of memories and lots of good experiences and some not so good experiences and some, odd occurrences. So I'm going to run down here and use it as an excuse to talk about some bands, and some I've mentioned, some maybe not. Some of my favorite shows for sure. I've seen lots of shows. So some favorites, but also some shows that stand out for a variety of reasons, and I'll use that as an excuse to tell a little story. So yeah, let's have some fun with this. Starting out, gonna show you sort of like a collection of some bands that I have to show CDs for, and then some that I have some vinyl that I like to show. So let's do that. First off is Audioslave. I was very fortunate to see Audioslave. Saw them at it was once called the ACC, but Scotiabank Arena, but it wasn't the full arena. It was like a bowl, so it was like part of it, half of it. And it was a very special show because, of course, if you follow rock music, Audioslave was a supergroup, and it was Chris Cornell from Soundgarden and the three musicians, not the singer, that were Rage Against the Machine, and they joined up and they made Audioslave. So the show was special because it was like a three-tier show. We got songs from Audioslave, we got songs from Soundgarden, and we got songs from Rage Against the Machine. And when they hit the Rage Against the Machine songs, wow, the place went off. And it was a great show, very memorable. And we had some solo acoustic numbers that Chris did. He did Black Hole Sun, and he did a couple of other Soundgarden tracks, acoustic, and it was very memorable because of that. Next one I want to mention is a band that I've seen a couple of times, both on the same tour, which was just the way it happened, and I was blown away by them. They were real good, and that is Metallica. This is Death Magnetic. I believe, I'm pretty certain with myself that this was the tour that I saw twice at the ACC or Scotiabank Arena. It was wicked, man. They were good. They had Lamb of God open the show, and that's really hardcore stuff for me. And I was blown away by the show. It was really good. Hey, here's one that makes me smile. I saw Creed at Scotiabank Arena, the ACC, with my buddy Colin and some other people, I believe. This was a long time ago. Like, we're talking 2002. So we're going back in the archives here. And Creed were on top of the world at that time, and I dig Creed. I think that they were good, and then they kind of burned bright, and then they burned right out. And I dig them. They were great live. That was a big show. It was packed. So that was a memorable show. With many of these shows I've seen with certain people, obviously my son Cameron, seen a bunch of shows with Kara, and I've seen a bunch of shows with a friend of mine named Colin Weir, who's a good guy, and we went to a lot of shows. And this was a show that I remember going with Colin to. It's very memorable. I was a big fan of them at the time, still am. And this is a collection from Stained, and we saw them at the Cool House in Toronto. Quite a small facility, and it was wicked, man. What a show. Very cool seeing Stained in such a small venue like that. It's long gone. That venue's long gone from Toronto. A Canadian band named Default opened the show, and it was good. Stained are a cool band. And this is a show that I saw Well, I've seen this artist twice. I've seen him with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band at the ACC long time ago, and it was the full show. He played like, hours, because that's what he does with that group. But I also saw, the one I wanted to mention is, I saw Bruce Springsteen on the Devils and Dust tour, which was Bruce playing the entire arena solo. And it was very special to see him in that kind of setting. And yeah, Springsteen solo was a very cool show. Here's a band that I've seen twice, but both times opening, and memorable though, because they opened in these shows for iconic bands and shows. So one was they opened for Audioslave at the ACC, and then I saw them open in St. Catharines with Kara because I'd never seen STP, Stone Temple Pilots, and they opened that show. So it's Seether. Good band, really good band. This is a cool set that I've had a long time. It's a live performance in an acoustic setting. Very beautiful. If you ever get a chance to see this, it's got the DVD of the show. It's really cool. Now here's a show that was like really a cool surprise, because I wanted to see them, had a chance finally, and on the Afraid of Heights tour, and I saw Billy Talent. This is a great collection, Billy Talent hits. And I saw Billy Talent finally in Toronto. What's memorable about this show is that at the time, and I think it continues to this day, their drummer was suffering from an illness, MS, pretty serious, and the Alexis on Fire drummer filled in the show. And because of that, after the show, before the I guess Billy's encore, and Alexis on Fire came on stage and played like 4 or 5 songs, Alexis songs. It was freaking killer. And the other memorable part of this show is this was not that long after Gordy had passed, and they did a very special rendition of Nautical Disaster from The Hip live at this show. And yeah, it was pretty cool. This is a show that surprised me. Tonight, going to see more live music with Kara. We're going up to Casino Rama, see Burton Cummings. Going to be cool. I've been to Rama, this will be the 3rd time. We were up there in April, and we went, it's kind of like a bit of a fun choice, not really didn't know what to expect, and we saw Chicago live at Casino Rama, and I'm telling you, it was one of the best surprising shows I've ever seen. They were fantastic. So pro. The visual for the stage was just amazing. Chicago was great, really great. This is a cool collection I picked up not that long ago because I really dug their music, and it's good. Here's one of the shows that I did see at Casino Rama. Very special show with my buddy Colin. We went up there. We saw Alice in Chains. How cool is that? We saw Alice in Chains at Casino Rama. What's cool about this show and memorable is that it was a strange show in terms of the bill. They had City and Color open the show, and the reason they had City and Color open the show is that Dallas Green, City and Color, is Alice in Chains is the one band that he identifies as what made him get into music. So that's why he opened the show. He came on stage and played a song or two with them. It was really cool. All right, some vinyl to show you guys. So if you were to press me, I've seen lots of shows, as I'm sure lots of folks out there have. I mean, lots of people do. Seen lots of shows, been to hundreds really over the years. If you were to press me and say, okay, Ron, give me your number one. What's the best show you've ever seen? I have to say, it's U2. This is one of my favorite U2 records. And the reason that U2 was so great is I had never seen them. It was a long time since I'd seen them. It was at the Scotiabank Arena, ACC, and we're talking 6 years ago, or so, and it was fantastic. I mean, what a show! The songs, of course, and the performance, and the entire show was just flawless. So, U2, my number one. My number one. Here's a fun show up there, and one of my favorites with Colin, Bud Stage, Scorpions. One of the best double bills I've ever seen. Scorpions and Queensryche opening for them. But the Scorpions were just, again, it was a flawless show, great performance. They played so much, and they have played so many live shows over the decades. Man, they got it down. They were great. What a band. Scorpions live. Here's a band that's just come out with a new record, and good. This is the record that I love from them. Queens of the Stone Age. This is the record, Like Clockwork. I saw Queens of the Stone Age on this tour twice. Once at a smaller rink, Tribute Community Center in Oshawa, and then again months later in Toronto at the bigger Scotiabank Arena. The Oshawa show stands out to me because it was just killer. I dragged my son Cameron to that. It's because, you know, Queens is more of a rock band, but he came with me and we had a great time. It was a good show. I mean, we had great seats. It's a small venue, so to see Queens of the Stone Age there was really neat. Here's one that's definitely connected to Cameron, and it's the 1975. I've gone twice now to see the 1975. This is their latest record, and that tour, this is the one, we've seen them at Bud Stage years back, and then we saw them at the Scotiabank Arena. What stands out to me about this performance is it was a great show. One of the best stage setup that they had. It was really fascinating, beautiful to look at. Matt Healy, the main singer and the main artist in the band. The band is just so good, like musicianship. It's just so, they're just so good. He is an odd guy, and he's very artistic, and I would say the show was cut in half. The first half, all this new stuff, which is really great. And then this weird, artistic, kind of weird performance from Matt Healy, a little bit over the top, maybe with some of his antics, but that's the way he is. He's a unique cat. And then the back half of the show was all the classic stuff. They've got a lot of great music, so it was a good show. I liked it. Here's one of the oldest shows that I wanted to mention. We're talking 1984, and it was Motley Crue. This is Too Fast for Love, but I mean, it was the Shout at the Devil tour. Okay, so young guy, very young guy. I can't really even remember who I was there with. It was a couple of friends, might have been my brother, I'm not sure. But so we come down from up north, living up in north of Toronto at the time. We come down to the city. They played at the Coliseum Arena, which is on the site of exhibition grounds. It was a hot day. Everyone's hanging out. We were younger than some of the people. It was a pretty crazy crowd, punk, metal crowd. The crowd gets anxious. The doors won't open. It's a warm day. They start pushing on the front of the building right through the glass doors. We all rush in. I remember we were scared. We were real scared. But it was a crazy experience, and you know, it kind of, to me, it's another. It set the tone for. I've seen Crue 4 times in my life, and the Crue, because of the nature of the band and the excitement surrounding seeing them back when they were cool and important, and every Crue show I ever went to had something went off the rails for sure. So. But yeah, that's a first. That's a first memory that will last. That lasts because it was so different. A few more for you. The Foo Fighters. This is the newest Foo Fighters record. It's really good. If you haven't heard it, it's really quite good. But here we are. So, Foo Fighters I've seen 3 times, and the one I wanted to point out is my buddy Colin and I took a big road trip, probably the furthest, well, one of the second furthest that I've ever traveled for a show, and we saw them at Citi Field in New York City. Colin and I and my Uncle Ed and his lady Rachel, and it was amazing. I mean, this is when Dave had broken his leg, so he was in the throne sitting on the stage, and they didn't leave anything off, man. They played for hours, and it was just crazy. There was like 50,000 people there or some crazy thing. It was really a great show. Can't go talking about live shows without mentioning the Hip. I've seen the Hip numerous times. I've mentioned this before. The most iconic one might have been Massey Hall with my son, for sure. But another one was the final tour in Toronto. We saw them the first of the 3 nights, and I couldn't get tickets, and it was very upsetting for me because it was an important moment, right? Everyone knew he was very ill. It was his swan song tour, and I couldn't get tickets. And then they released a few thousand or a couple of thousand tickets behind the stage. They opened everything up, and I'd never been behind a stage. I'd never paid for tickets, so I was very reluctant, but I did it because it was like a chance to be there. Cameron and I went, and wow, it was really something else because the view was amazing. We were close. It still sounded amazing. And to watch from behind, from where the band was, the crowd at the Scotiabank Arena towards us from behind during that whole performance, and when Gord had his big standing ovation to say farewell, it was really special. Really, really special. And I certainly didn't regret getting those rear view seats then, that's for sure. Just a few more to show you, and this is a bit of a trick I'm pulling on you here. Saw Sabbath at Bud Stage for the End Tour, the last Toronto show, and with Ozzy fronting Sabbath. I wanted to show this. This is a pretty iconic old record of mine. Look at that thing. It's amazing, and the reason I'm showing this is the record Oz put out, Speak of the Devil, back in the day. This is completely Black Sabbath songs. So this is Ozzy doing Sabbath. And when we seen him at that End Tour, it was jaw-dropping how cool and great he, like, we're not talking early in their career. This is what, 4 years ago or something like that. And he was amazing, man. He was so good, and Ozzy doing Sabbath songs, especially seeing them right before they went away was, yeah, real special memory. Here's an odd one that I wanted to point out to you guys. I am a big fan of Ryan Adams, and singer-songwriter. If you don't know him, check him out. A great songwriter. He's been through some turbulent times. He got caught up in some bad stuff as far as with his end of his marriage to the actress Mandy Moore, and some other things, the way he conducted himself. He's an odd cat, and Cameron and I went and saw him. He's a great songwriter though, and we saw him at Massey Hall. And the reason this sticks out to me, the show, is because I think one of the only times he had a female comedian, open the show. Okay, Massey Hall, lots of people there. He's a singer-songwriter, a lot of acoustic-based music. And she was something else, man. She was vulgar, and it was pretty racy content, and some people were leaving the show. And it was a really odd choice for him to have this opening person. It always sticks in my brain because of that. Ryan was good. The show was fine. But and certainly an odd choice to have that comedian open the show that had that kind of material. And last one I wanted to show, one of my favorites. I've seen them twice. Funny that I've only seen them twice, but once was way back when at Maple Leaf Gardens, and then I saw them at Downsview Park when they kind of came back and Brian was still singing. We didn't have Malcolm on the stage, he was ill. We didn't have Phil Rudd on drums because of his problems. But we had Angus and we had the songs, and it was wicked, and it was a huge show. And that is AC/DC. I've had this record a very, very long time. Just a great record. And they were fantastic. And I was very glad to go and see Brian and Angus one more time. Very special. So that's my video of live shows that I've seen. And I continue to go to some shows, mostly with Kara now. And we pick our spots and we pick our bands that it's a pleasure to see. You know, I really don't go to see a lot of shows anymore because I've seen so many, as I said, and seeing the same ones over and over again. But I'm still filling in some holes and having some fun with that. Okay, thanks for watching. Subscribe and like if you think of it, please. And we'll see you again. Bye.